So good to be, thank you, and Evgeny as well for the invitation. So good to be able to meet you and speak to you. I left Greece. I was raised and studied in Greece. I left Greece in 2005, and I've been abroad ever since. So it's great. It's a great opportunity to connect with the Greek and international ICF community. What I wanted to talk to you today, I was bouncing. Should it be the path? Should it be life vision? And because life vision is what you want, clarifying what you want, and the path is actually what your next step will be. So I will talk a little bit about both, but I will start with the vision, life vision, and I would like you to listen.
Sorry, really sorry, Caterina, I'm really sorry for interrupting. I'm not sure if we have started. Yes, we have started the recording. Sorry. Okay, yeah, great.
Fantastic. Think about the life vision for yourself, and then I will give you a lot of questions and tools of how I help clients, coaching clients, to clarify their life vision. And why did I become so passionate about the vision? Where did it all start? And it started in 2009. I had went abroad to do an MBA, and I thought, in Greece, we value education. I was thinking, I'm going to do this master's degree, and the options will be available to me, and I'll have all these offers. And it was 2009. So I signed up, and then Lehman Brothers happened, and the international crisis happened. And after the MBA, I had 0 offers. I am jobless. I am broke. I come back to Greece. I had already spent like 4 years abroad at that point. And I come back to Greece, and I'm staying on a sofa, and I'm trying to find a job in the UK. And nothing. Nobody was hiring. And I'm from Yanina. Imagine myself in the sofa in Yanina, for those who are familiar with the Greek geography, applying all day to jobs to move to the UK, and I was hearing nothing back. And then for a weekend, my mom said, okay, come, you need to take your brain off things. I went on a weekend by the beach, and I found this book that was talking about visualization. And I obviously read the book, and I followed a few tips from the book. The first one was clarify what you want. And I said, okay, what do I want? I've been applying, imagine myself 8 hours applying to jobs, right? I had spent all my savings and my parents' savings to this MBA, and I had nothing to show for it. And then I said, what would be the ideal job, like the ideal company? And once I stayed quiet and I looked within, I was like, oh, I'd love to work for Google. It was one of the best employers in the world at that time. That said, it was an employer that was receiving 2 million CVs a year. And the visualization book said, then visualize it, right? So I went onto YouTube, and I searched into YouTube, Google offices London, and I was seeing the offices, and I started visualizing myself being there. And the third tip from the book is behave and feel like you've already achieved it. So I started feeling excited, and I also told everyone. Usually when you have this goal, you keep it private and you keep it secret so that, if you fail, people don't know. I started telling everyone, oh, I'm going to get a job at Google. And the most incredible thing happened. I had applied to Google across with other tens or maybe 100 applications. I don't know at that point how many applications, and they had rejected me. And after I went to YouTube and the visualization, I received a phone call. Like it was almost, this is a true experience. It was almost like magical. And it was, oh, hello, Mrs. Kostoula, we're from Google. I'm like, what's going on? And they said, yeah, you had applied for this job, you were rejected, but a new job. We've opened up a new job that might be a better fit. So long story short, 2 months later, after clarifying the vision, this is what I want, I was in London, meeting them, thinking already like I had embodied, I'm not going for an interview, I'm meeting my future colleagues, and I'm seeing the offices. I went with that attitude, and I got the job. So I started thinking, oh, what is this power of really being clear what you want? There was one other thing that I did because I was clear on what I wanted. I stopped applying to anything else. Like those 2 months of the recruitment process, I immersed myself. This is what I want. So I put all the eggs in one basket. And that's one of the benefits of having a clear vision. You can tune out the noise. And since then, though, what I noticed is whenever I knew what I wanted, things would go relatively well, you know. But the biggest struggles I had throughout my career was whenever I was not clear. I stayed at Google for 8 years, London, and halfway through those 8 years, I qualified as a coach as well. But I remember when I qualified as a coach, I was still in limbo, right? I wanted to get my next promotion at Google, but I also wanted to become a coach. And that was when things were not working. I was not getting the next promotion. And I realized what now, with the beauty of the hindsight, why weren't things not working? And it came back to the vision was not clear. Like, was I trying to evolve in my corporate career, or was I trying to leave the corporate career and have a coaching business? So I did leave in 2018. So that's where the passion for vision came, like from having the vision and achieving what you want. And I used this tool, like similar things. Like I had on my, and I started using visual boards as well. I had on my vision, I want a book. I want to write a book, and I didn't even know what book to write. And then 2 months later, Penguin, the biggest publisher in the world, reached out and said, can you write a book for us? Like, I was thinking, this is working really well. And I know these are real experiences. There is science. It sounds like magic. There is science behind why visualization works. Because when we have a vision, our brain doesn't know whether it's reality or not. That's why we cry when we watch movies, or we laugh, or we feel the feelings. Our brain sees an image and we create new neural connections, and we behave differently. Our biochemistry changes, and there is this happiness advantage, like, again, well documented in the workplace, that the better you feel, the more opportunities you attract. So how can we help ourselves and our clients get clear on the vision, since it's so important? And by the way, I love questions. I'd love to make this interactive. So anything you want to ask, just pop in the chat and we can have a more interactive session. When I started, I was coaching. I started collaborating with a business school in Seattle. So I was coaching a lot of alumni. So very quickly, I got a lot of experience, like 200 coaches a year, that were either doing their MBA or after the MBA. So a lot of those people were coming to me saying, I did this MBA. What do I want to do with my life? They were coming with this question. And I thought, yes, let's do a program, the standard 6 sessions to figure it out. But then most people would figure it out in 1 or 2 sessions. I don't know if you had the same experience in your practice. So I started forming this hypothesis. Like so many of us, we find it challenging. What do we want? But my hypothesis was, people know what they want. They're just afraid to admit it to themselves. So I started testing this hypothesis, and the model and the framework, which is still evolving, was created. I launched Vision Path in 2021, which is my 6-week program to clarify your life and business and work vision. And I've run it 5 times since. I run it for a business school now. So I'm always fine-tuning from one-to-one coaching, from hundreds of hours of one-to-one coaching, now fine-tuning a methodology of how can we easily help people be clear on what they want. Because most people, when they're clear on what they want, and we know as coaches, they can figure it out. They're pretty resourceful of what to do when they know what they want. But the initial confusion, what do I want? Which comes a lot of the distractions we have. We're busy, we never settle in to listen to ourselves, but also we're bombarded by messages, right? By advertising, by this is what you should want. Like there's billions thrown to us of this is what you want, or this is what you want. So there's a lot of distraction. And our job as coaches as well can be to help people tune into themselves. I picked up the most important things out of the framework for our session today, given the time we have. So I think what I'll do now is I'll try to share the slide. And we take it from there. Let's see if I can share it. Desktop. Can you see that? Give me a thumbs up.
Yes, thank you, Caterina. We can.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to talk to you today, that life vision, or what we want, exists in the center, is there. Like when we tune in, it's there. What we need to do is peel some layers. And the 3 layers I wanted to talk to you today is resistance, fear, and ego. Stop sharing. Okay. Let's start with resistance. There are 2 types of resistance, because before we go and visualize and go out in the world to create, we need to get centered in ourselves. And I love the ICF mantra that we are whole and inherently creative and resourceful. And I use that quite a lot in my practice. So the first resistance we have is towards reality. All the time, what creates clutter in our head is that things they are around us, but we're resisting it. Like things shouldn't be that way. And we always lose. It doesn't make sense. Like resisting reality, it is. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. Like an example is, oh, I'm in London and it's windy. And imagine I'm resisting that. Like it shouldn't be windy. Like, what's the point of that? I'm creating so much frustration in my body, so much clutter in my head. Can I change the wind? Because you either accept the reality or you accept the reality. You have to accept the reality and either be okay with it, or you can take an action. Maybe I'll book a trip to Greece because it's windy and cloudy here. So the first thing we want to do is save energy from all this resistance towards what is. And the second type of resistance is towards our inner emotions. There's so much, like a lot of the problems is that we feel something uncomfortable and we try to numb it, right? And we all do this. We'll numb it with Netflix, with alcohol, with shopping, with work, a lot of us. And what we want is drop the resistance, let the feelings walk through. A feeling can be great information of maybe there's something misaligned. Maybe you're not using your thinking properly. I remember I was in the beach in Greece a couple of years ago, and I fell and I hurt my hand. And it was 15th of August, which is a celebration in Greece. And my family was coming over and I was trying to ignore the pain. Like what I would have done is, oh, maybe I should, take a painkiller and shoulder it on and celebrate with my family the 15th of August. But I didn't. Thankfully, I went to the hospital, and thankfully there was something wrong. I had broken my hand. So this was an example of feelings were never the enemy. Pain was just a signal from my body. You know what? Something is wrong here. How about you look into that? But we don't do that. Our clients don't do that, right? We feel pain, we feel stress, and we are just, instead of staying with it and letting it pass through, and it always passes, and then we can settle in the quiet inside, we just resist or try to numb. And the problem is when you try to numb the pain, you numb joy as well, because you cannot just numb pain. You numb joy as well, and you numb desire. So a lot of the times our clients say, I don't know what I want, because they have numbed their feelings so much, they've numbed desire, like the childlike excitement of, wouldn't it be cool to do that? Oh, I want that. Our children, how they're connected to their joy, to their energy, to their desire. So one of the exercises I do with clients is I ask them, how do you want to feel in the future? Because they come to the program to work on their vision. And actually, let's do it now. Can you write in the chat, how do you want to feel in the future? And if you had this life vision, how would you feel? Well, let's do this now. I'll read what you write. Content, free, happy, relaxed, happy, light, inner peace, calm, with my friends. Nice. Happy and confident and meaningful life. And the question I want us all to consider is, what stops us from feeling that now? Children feel that. Like when you see children, you see they're inherently happy, like unless they have a physical, they're hungry or cold or sleepy, they're physically content. Like they're naturally. And that's the ICF mantra. Like we believe the client is already whole, inherently whole, creative, and resourceful. But I think a lot of times we forget that the client is whole. A lot of the marketing and coaching industries, we're going to fix you, we're going to heal you, you need to change, you're here, you need to get there. But I use vision is a place you're coming from, not a place you're going. So the first step is actually to see everything you ever wanted, because a lot of times we want things. We want the money, the relationship, the experience to feel something. That's why we want it. But if you realize I can already feel those things and that's my nature, and actually I don't have to achieve all those things to feel those, but I just need to feel this now, which I can, and just remove anything that stands in the way of me feeling those things. That's when you can go out and create stuff out of fun. Like our children create a tower out of Lego or a sandcastle. You can go out and create your business and your relationships and your experiences and your charity, and work out of desire and joy, versus I need to achieve all this in order to feel happy and fulfilled and free and calm. So the first step is remove all this resistance and reconnect to behind the thinking. When you're not thinking and you're present, this is what you feel. So the first step is reconnect with that. You're already whole. ICF mantra. You're already happy inside or calm, depending what words. The word happy doesn't work for every client. Maybe calm. Like I tell people to use their own word. There's nothing out there you need. We feel that, and out of abundance and overflow will go to create. Okay, we covered resistance. Let me know if you have any questions on that, and I'll move on to fear. Fear. This is a big reason why people are stuck of, I don't know what they want. It's not that they don't know what they want, but they're afraid that if they settle on what they want, they will not be able to have it, and they will feel disappointed. So we're afraid of a feeling. That's why in step number 1, when you allow the feelings, you realize they're not that bad. Okay, you feel disappointed and then it will go away. Like being okay with the feelings will help you not to be so afraid, because most of our fears are fears of a feeling, like fear of failure, fear of rejection. Like they're not real practical things. For practical things, you're not afraid. You just take your measures, right? But most of the fears are, I'm afraid of a feeling. So how do we help the clients through the fear and reconnecting to their desire through the fear? And I have a question. What do you mean by our fears are not practical? Our fears, they're never, Flavia, they're never, but by practical, I mean, am I really gonna be homeless? Like how many of us? And if I am, then it's not fear. It's like a practical, I won't leave my job. Like I need more savings. But it's rarely like a practical fear. Or a practical fear is if someone comes into my room with a knife now, that's actually very real, right? It's very real. And again, me being afraid, is it going to help me? Like when we're afraid, the prefrontal cortex shuts down. Like there's amygdala, there's fight or flight. We're not creative when we're afraid. We're not logical when we're afraid. Like fear is programmed for the tiger that comes and we need to either fight or flight. So actually, most of the fear is counterproductive because I want to be creative and resourceful when there is a risk in my business, for example. So actually, fear is not very helpful. It rarely is. I need to be centered so I can be smart and deal with it, right? It's only helpful if someone gets into my room now with a knife, probably anger, maybe anger will help me punch them, or fear if I flee. So, but rarely our clients will have like a practical, useful fear. Most of the times it's just unproductive because it shuts down their creativity and their resourcefulness. But for our purposes, which is to clarify their vision, it's not necessarily to eliminate fear, although I do have tips for that if you're in, or to take action despite fear. It's mostly to create a safe environment for them to do thought experiments and play. And that's what I usually say. I say, I'm not going to ask you to make any major changes in your life. Because people are afraid because they say, what if I come up with what I want and I need to leave my spouse or I need to leave my job? Like, it's scary. That's why people say, I don't know what I want, because they're afraid that when I know what I want, it will always require some change of the status quo. And this is uncomfortable. So I'm better feeling, oh, I don't know what I want. So we need to create safety in our clients to explore, but reassuring them, I'm not going to ask you to take any action. Let's play here. And we know the questions, like they're typical. If you had a magic wand, what would you want? So I usually will use variations of these questions because we don't know what limitation the client had. So you can start thinking about this. If you had unlimited money, what would you do? If you had unlimited time, what would you do? I find a lot of working parents, the problem is not the money, it's the time, because they feel, oh, I have the kids, I cannot do what I want. So I will try to remove all the barriers. If you knew you would be successful, what would you do? Like, fear of failure is so much like a barrier. If you knew everybody would approve, and by the way, everybody would approve, one of the most powerful exercises I do with clients is write down all the people who were important to you growing up and are important to you now. And we just write down, what do those people think you should do with your life? Just to identify what are the expectations, or where are the expectations. A lot of times we carry, as we know, expectations from our parents our parents have changed. They don't have the same expectations, or our parents may not be even alive, but we carry it, right? And when the first time I did this exercise, I didn't expect it to be so emotional. I had people crying, just writing down, either people realizing, oh my goodness, I've lived all of my life doing what my parents wanted, or in some cases, because you write it down, what did they want me to do with my life? And you realize you did exactly that. Or in some cases, you were rebelling towards what they wanted. And this could be your spouse. It could be other teachers, colleagues, classmates. We talk about that a little bit in the ego. Or were rebelling, and maybe it doesn't make sense rebelling towards that anymore. Maybe that's what you want, what your parents wanted, and you don't have to rebel or follow it, right? So in removing fear, we remove it in a what if thought experiment environment. We don't really remove it. If we want to go in more, when someone has identified what they want and they're still part of, and then the fear is like stopping them from taking action, one of the best questions we can ask is, what is the cost of inaction? Because our brain is more afraid of loss than desires gain. There's been a lot of experiments with that, like with betting, right? We're afraid of losing $20 or euros more than we want to gain that, right? It's easy to test. And when we needed change, after you clarified the vision, if you need to change the status quo, it's very easy to see what you're losing. Like if I want to quit my job, I'm losing the salary and the security and I don't know, the status, but it's not clear what I'm gaining. So the question you need to ask is, what's the cost of inaction? And physically, emotionally, financially, now, in 5 years, in 10 years. And I did that actually with a client on Wednesday. And they were saying happiness, freedom. And then you realize, then you use your fear of loss to boost you towards making a change. And also, sometimes we get practical. I remember I was about to teach the fear module in my program, and my was 5-year-old son back then. He woke up and said, "Mommy, I was dreaming there were monsters under the bed." And what do you do when your 5-year-old says there are monsters under the bed? You just look under the bed to see there are no monsters. And sometimes that's what we need to do with clients who are paralyzed, who have the vision, but they're paralyzed by fear. It is say, okay, let's write down all the fears. What can you do to prevent the worst scenario from happening? What can you do to repair? And that's a concept by Tim Ferriss. It's called fear setting. And then they realize, oh, I can actually do things to repair it. And a lot of the fear people tell me, especially people who want to become entrepreneurs, is, what will my spouse think? And then, like, have you talked to them about it? Like, most of the times our people around us want us to be happy. So it's a bigger fear in our head. Thank you, Flavia. I like the question, what's the cost of inaction? Yes, it's a very powerful question. Let me move into removing ego, which was a huge breakthrough I had, which I loved it so much that I did a TEDx about this. And you can, in TEDx Patras, you can find it. It's Do Your Goals Prevent Your Success? If you want to watch the whole TEDx about this. So how did I come about from this insight? I am on a holiday. Like we've been planning the holiday for months, and I'm with the family, and it's beautiful, and the weather is nice. And I'm not feeling great. And I'm like, okay, let me journal, see what's happening. And what happened was, I was journaling. I realized I was feeling a little bit that back then, my business was not doing that well. And by the way, it was a 6-figure coaching business. I was thinking, oh, it's not doing that well. And the reason I was feeling it was not doing that well was because I had seen in social media posts a fellow coach, like they were celebrating a huge financial milestone. And that subconsciously, the comparison had made me feel, oh, my business is not doing that well. And why is that? But then as I was looking at that, I was like, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense because I'm in a great holiday. So if my business was doing better, I wouldn't be anywhere different. I'm in a resort, like with my family. Like, it's not that, it's a normal feeling when you're like suffering, cannot take a taxi and you need to walk through and you feel, oh, I wish my business was doing better. That's a normal feeling. But I was in a holiday. And then it dawned on me, it wasn't that I needed more money, obviously. I was having a great holiday. I had attached money of my business to my self-worth. I didn't want the money. I had attached the money to my self-worth. If I were a better coach, the business would be bigger. It would be more successful. And it was a huge breakthrough because I let it go and I started doing things out of joy. But then I identified so many of our clients, they think they want things, but it's not really, they don't want the thing. Especially money. Money is always a means to an end. And when we're helping clients clarify their vision, one of the things we need, and I do it on a vision boarding, like we use images and other tools, but I like to have one single side, your images about what you want. One of the questions I want to ask them, is this a means to an end? And money is always a means to an end. So I will not have them have a financial goal on the vision, because what do you want the money for? Right? Like, I'm happy for them to have like a fancy house, or the travel, or the experiences, or the free time. Like, it needs to be the end result. A lot of the people think, oh, I need to feel free. But I've coached, like, this week I was coaching like someone who had exited 100 million, like 700. He just sold a 700 million business. Feeling free is an internal thing. We've coached multimillionaires and they feel anxious that they're going to lose everything. And you coach people that don't have so much money and they feel free. It's an internal game. It has nothing to do, like, once you covered the basic needs with the amount. So how can I remove the ego? And the ego, because I was coaching so many of these MBAs or alumni, and they would tell me, what will my classmates think in the reunion? So the ego of what would people think about me, or how will I think about myself, about my value, was blaring their vision and what they wanted. So the questions you can ask to really start removing the layers of the ego is, would you still want this if nobody ever knew you achieved it or you had it? Also, every goal that has the best, it's an ego goal. Because and you're condemning yourself for disappointment. Like, who would even charge it? Like, if you say, I want to be the best coach in Greece or in the world, it's an ego goal, right? We want to be one of the greats. Like, you try to shift our clients. It's not about being the best. It's not a competition. It's about collaboration. Can you be one of the greats? Like, let go of all these ego-driven things that will have you in a treadmill, never arriving, always feeling like a loser. And that's the third question. Once they've done the vision board, do any of your goals, how do they make you feel? A real joy-driven goal will make you feel excited. I was in Disneyland last weekend, and it was in my vision board, like, since I was a child, I never went. And that's how it should feel. Oh, I want to go to Disneyland. And it should feel exciting. But a lot of our goals they make us feel like a loser. Like, when I had experienced this of, oh, I should be further along by now. These are ego-driven goals. That's how you can actually know, how does the goal make me feel? Like, if you see someone having a beautiful house and you want that beautiful house and you say, I'm so excited, like, in the future, this house is so cool, I want to make my house like that. That's a joy-driven goal. But if you see the house and you feel, I'm a loser, that I don't have a house that pretty, that's an ego-driven goal. Okay, I love questions. Let's see. What's your view on how we see our self-worth, or what people think about me, comes also from deep-rooted fear? What's your advice on coaching such a person here? I want to know how to identify where that fear really comes from. So we know people are whole, people are worthy, people are born worthy, and nothing has changed. We're worthy, whether we have a good education, whether we make a lot of money, like all the typical things when we have a successful business. This has nothing to do with our human worth. Why do people don't feel worthy? It starts from childhood. Because from childhood, we start telling them, like, the baby, we give them unconditional love, like, usually. The baby can do nothing wrong. But then all of a sudden, when they grow up, we start being conditional. You need to brush your teeth. Otherwise, I'll withdraw my love. You need to do your homework. You need to tidy up your house or your room. And we start teaching the kid, you need to get good grades, especially parents who are very ego-driven, like, they want to use the kid to show up to their friends. So we start sending the message to the child and then the adult, your worth is conditional. You're only worthy if you have good grades. You're only worthy if you do what, like as a parent. And then the society comes and all the advertising industry comes and they try to put their own standards. Like you are worthy if you have your very fit body and you're very fashionably dressed. So it's no surprise that at some point, unless you do a lot of work on yourself, you feel, oh, my worth is conditional. But that's, Flavia, that's the core of our work. Like getting the client really to identify, my worth is unconditional. I'm already whole. Like, I love this. I'm already whole. There's nothing I need to fix, change about myself, achieve. No, I'm doing all that as I did Disneyland. Like I went to Disneyland and we did the rides, and some rides were scary, and that's how we need to experience life. Some rides were difficult and scary, but it was fun. I didn't have to do it. That's how you need to show up in life. I'm already worthy. I'm already happy. Let me have fun with this life. Let me play. Let me create some cool things out in the world. Is that helpful, Flavia? Let me know if you need a follow-up. Okay, Maria, maybe ego-driven goals are pushing us forward, though. Depends what pushing forward means. So what happens with the ego-driven goal is you can never fill a gap that didn't exist in the first place. So we think, let's say, if I get this promotion, I will feel worthy. That's the definition of an ego-driven goal, right? We attach it to our worth. But I'm already worthy. So there's no gap there. I think there is a gap. And I think that if I get the promotion, I will feel worthy. But then I get the promotion, I'm happy for a minute. And then I didn't fix the perceived gap. It was in my mind all along. So how could I fix it? So it's not enough. And I'll feel happy for a minute, and then I'll set up a different goal. And I'll try to achieve that. And I will always go around life feeling unfulfilled, unsuccessful, unhappy, and the whole life will slip through our hands. In my TEDx talk, I saw I shared the metaphor of the dog running, chasing their tail. They're never reaching the tail. The tail was part of their body all along. That's the worthiness. You're chasing the worthiness. It's part of you all along. So you're kind of wasting your time. The dog could be going out to have some food or play rather than chasing a tail that's part of their body. They don't need to chase it. So can it work as a motivation, ego-driven goals, to work harder? Yes. Most of the companies try to hire insecure overachievers. But is that what you want? Like to be a pawn on a company that like they don't do it on purpose. They will, but that's what they do. They will use your insecurity to have you work harder. Or you want to be happy and fulfilled, and that's when you create your best work, actually. Because if you're unhappy, you're not as successful according to the happiness advantage research, and you're not so much in flow and accessing your creativity and your resourcefulness. The remedy is to set your real authentic criteria of success, and this is the most challenging. Yes, Barbara, this whole session is around that, like what success looks like to you. That's why you do all the removing. What would you want if you were not afraid of failure, of criticism? And then what would you want if you were already worthy? And if you, like, everybody was approving of you, like if nobody would ever know, what would you still want? These are the best questions I know to actually identify your criteria for success. Voss is putting very high goals. I fear I cannot. Thanks, Caterina. It helps. I love Alan Seale's work on ego and soul and how we work with the partnership of them together. Thank you. I'll have a look at that. My worth is unconditional may lead to inactiveness to attain your vision. So, Cosmas, thank you for sharing that, because that's a normal fear. And it's not true. Depression leads to inactiveness. If you're depressed, that's when you don't want to do things. When you feel happy and worthy, you want to do things. Like children want to play and do the Lego towers. Like, do the children that want to build Lego towers all the time and sandcastles, do they do it because they feel unworthy? No, because we are inherently creative. ICF mantra, people are inherently creative. The universe is inherently creative. There is this power that the oak, that the acorn becomes oak tree. There's this power, like stars are born all the time. We're part of this. We want to create. So you don't have to be afraid. It's actually the opposite. If you feel worthy, the happier you are, the more creative you are. Like right now, I'm in such a creative flow that I'm thinking, I get ideas about courses I want to do. And I'm thinking, how am I going to fit them in the calendar? Because it's fun. I'm thinking, oh, I want to teach that and I want to share that. This is where you want your clients to be, overflowing out of creativity. There's no fear of inaction. And by the way, the whole thing of being versus doing, I find like we have overemphasized the doing in our society. And a lot of the times, the most creative ideas come when you're settling down and being. I have 12 weeks of holiday a year. And I realized since I implemented that in my business exploded. I do less, but when I'm on holiday, I be more, I have more inspiration, I create better content, more clients come. So it's not so much on doing always, because to be creative, you also need to be and really allow the creativity to flow versus being distracted on doing. And the whole doing, 20% of our actions produce 80% of our results, like the Pareto rule. Okay, let me see. I agree with that. True fulfillment comes when our doing and our being are aligned. Perfect. Is there a question? Okay. I know someone who is so content or so worthy in their eyes, but is visible to others, is not meeting their potential. I don't know how to work with the person because I like that they're so content about themselves, but I also see they have so much potential. What am I missing? What does it mean? What does it mean they have potential? Because in reality, I realized the biggest benefit you can have to society is to be happy. Like imagine you go to the supermarket and there's this, the cashier, and they're extremely happy. And you go to buy, I don't know, your vegetables, and you have this beautiful cashier, beautiful because they're glowing out of their happiness, and they say good morning to you, and they make your day, and you're just going to the supermarket to get your vegetables, and your whole day is so much better. And this person is having a balanced life, look after their health, they have their love relationships, and being a cashier in the supermarket, they're making everyone's lives, like hundreds of people that go there today, they're making it better. Is this person, and then you have someone who's miserable, fights with their spouse, talks bad to their kids, and they're raising money for the children in Africa, but they're making everyone around them miserable because they're miserable. Who do you think is fulfilling their potential? Is it the cashier or is it the miserable charity person? I'm talking charity because we're talking about who will improve the world more. Our biggest duty is to be in our whole creative, resourceful nature. And that's how we live the world around us. It's not to chase, like the dog, our worthiness because of somebody else's expectations. I hope that's helpful. Do we have any other comments? And maybe there's a follow-up question, Flavia. Maybe you meant something else about reaching their potential. Yeah. Flavia says, I got it now, really opened my eyes. Thank you. I'm glad. Anything else before we wrap up? Krista?
Hello. I really like what the outlook and the perspective that you have. I think also that it's not exactly a question, but that this relates to who you are, how you have been brought up, what you have decided to be, how you have worked with yourself, and all of these things. So what I'm imagining is that as a coach, you're really supporting people to be more like what you're saying, visualizing their best selves and taking out fear and all that stuff. So yeah, my question really is, sometimes it feels like people cannot do very many things about being miserable, or yeah, that's not a little bit like a question mark there.
Yeah. So what I found is we're thought away from a different experience. Like, unless there is a clinical depression where I would look at physically, like, it's shocking. I've been geeking out on all the medicine around. Like, you could have low vitamin D or B or thyroid dysfunction and feel miserable. Like, there's so many physical things that affect our mood. It's crazy. Like, I think I've ignored this the first part of our lives, and now I'm geeking out on this. But emotion, like, we are in a roller coaster. I think the problem is when we're making it wrong. That's why I said the first one is you don't resist the emotions. Oh, I'm sad today. I'm probably when I'm sad, though, I don't trust my thinking. I'll try not to send an email when I'm sad or fight with my husband. But it's okay to be sad. And I know if I allow it, it will wash through and it will go away. And tomorrow I'll be more rested. I'll probably have a better night's sleep and I will think better. And that's when I create. I think a lot of the problem is actually resisting, making it wrong. Oh, yeah, you're miserable. I was, yesterday I was sleep deprived. I felt miserable. I like my child, like I just put them to have a nap, and I do the same to myself. And then it's just realizing how transient those feelings are, unless, again, a clinical depression is feeling for 3 months or more, like really low. And then I would very much look like go physically, along with whatever talking therapist you can refer to a client. I have one more question. Where does an approach of I'm perfect as I am actually leads? I haven't seen it lead somewhere other than cultivating the ego along with a bit of laziness. On the other hand, accepting and recognizing the current condition and deciding where one wants to go and they want to do and why sets things in motion. My belief is we are, like the ICF says, we believe the clients are inherently resourceful, creative, and whole. If we believe the ICF mantra that people are whole, there's nothing to be added. There's nothing to be fixed. It's actually what we want is to be removed, like some thinking, dysfunctional thinking. But the core nature is whole. Where does that lead? Does it lead to laziness? That's not my experience. Depression leads to laziness. When you feel happy, you want to create. Like, I think I've already answered that question. It's okay, we can agree to disagree. But it's not, we don't want to create out of lack, out of I'm not enough, I need to fix myself. Like, this is such a waste of energy. I want to create because I'm inherently creative and because it's fun. I want to write, I want to share, I want to experience life. Like the rides at Disneyland, like I want to experience the feelings. Like, you pay money to actually get scared on a roller coaster. That's what you want. It's not when you're happy. Are you like, no, you're not lazy. You have the energy to go out and experience and create. We talk about the fear of failure, but another stronger fear is the fear of success. Yes, I do have an article, 7 reasons you're afraid of success. And a big part of this is leaving people behind, especially if you come from a more humble background. You're thinking, I don't want to leave them behind. And the best antidote I found with that is, can I bring them along with me? And how can I do that? Right? the more successful you become, can you, and that's by giving. Can you give to your family and friends? Can you invite them? Like, can you bring them along with you? Because I found in my life that was blocking me. I was blocking my success because I didn't want to leave my friends behind. And then I unblocked them when I invited them all on a birthday party in Mykonos, and they realized, oh, when you're more successful, where are you gonna take us? And I was like, okay, I'm bringing them along with me. I'm sharing the success, and that unblocked me. I'm not leaving them behind. I'm bringing them along. I'm sharing the joy by being more generous. Maybe we're confusing the notion of being perfect to being fulfilled. Yeah, words are semantics. If fulfilled works better, we can use the word fulfilled. I'm aware that there's another speaker. Should I share the offers and then I'll wrap up? Is that,
yes,
I know
please.
There's more questions.
Yes, please, Caterina, you have set the chat on fire.
Yeah, isn't it? Like, by the way, there's this book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And there was a nurse who spent time with a lot of dying people, and she has the 5 regrets. What do people when they're dying regret? And the number 1 regret is, I wish I had lived a life true to myself rather than the life others expected of me. So there's nothing more important than this. Like, if you ask me, doing vision work, clarifying what you want and living life in your terms, there's nothing more important, because that's the number 1 regret of the dying. And that's the last thing we do, though. We're so busy chasing other people's expectations rather than, what do I want? What do I want? Because that's the one thing, if we don't do it, we're most likely to regret it. So it's normal that people get passionate about this topic because it's really important. Let me share.
Sorry, Caterina, I can see Caterina's hand for a while now. I don't know if you want to comment something.
If we have time, yeah, I'm happy to stay. I just wanted to be respectful. Let's go.
Just for a minute, yeah.
It's about Maria's comment about the confusion, and it's more than semantics, because as coaches, our tools are the words, and I put there words create worlds. I think it's more about being whole, creative, resourceful, how we see the client as enough already, and we support this idea of enough to the client. And that's with this mentality and the mindset that we also enter this conversation with the client, to acknowledge that they already have the answers for their own lives. They are the natives there, we are not there. And they are already enough in that sense. So I wanted to clarify that. So it's not the conception, oh, I'm perfect as I am, which could be a total paradox, because we are in the ongoing self-development profession. That means we are always evolving. So thank you for the time.
Thanks, Caterina. I think it's very clear for us as coaches to say, oh, the client is whole and resourceful. I find a lot of times we don't believe that for ourselves. So that's an invitation. It's easier to say, oh, my client is resourceful. They're the expert in their life. Like I found it very easy. But in order to meet them as whole, we need to feel we're whole too. Yes, and I agree with what you said. The whole perfection, I actually like the word perfection. I am perfect, like deep inside. There's nothing in my true nature that I need to fix. Will I keep growing and learning? Yes, but I like the word perfection. For some people, it can trigger. So that's why I say semantics, because if the word perfection triggers some resistance and, I'm not perfect, I need to fix something, that's fine. Don't use the word perfect, use the word whole. But actually, I like, yes, like there's nothing inherently wrong with us other than our thinking. And in the coaching, a lot of the work we do is in the thinking. All right, let me share the slides. Okay, so that's the masterclass. You have the link. It's an hour of how to build a thriving coaching business. 2 mistakes coaches make when they transition from business background to coaching, 5 strategies for finding aligned coaching clients with flow, and 3 ways to scale your coach's business to 6 figures and beyond without burning yourself out. That's a free class. And I do have my Vision Path program starting on the 5th of June. That's theleaderpath.com/vision path. That is a 6-week program to go a lot deeper, do the exercises, there's teachings, there's workshops, there's a community. If you want to clarify what you want in your life, business, and career. So these are the offers. theleaderpath.com/vision path and theleaderpath.com/business. The first one is free. The second is a paid program.